You wake up every morning and check your phone. Social media, bank account, messages from people who think they know your business. And somewhere deep inside, you feel this quiet exhaustion. Not from working too hard, but from constantly having to explain yourself, defend your choices, justify your moves to people who will never understand what you're truly building. You're tired of being the open book, tired of sharing your wins only to watch others try to copy your path or worse, tear you down out of envy. You've learned the hard way that every time you celebrate too loudly, every time you reveal too much, the world finds a way to make you pay for it. But what if I told you that this frustration you feel is actually pointing you towards something much more powerful? What if the very thing that's been draining your energy could become your greatest advantage? I am Solomon, and 3,000 years ago, I discovered something that most men spend their entire lives missing. The richest man who ever lived didn't build his fortune by announcing his moves to the world. I built it in silence, in shadows, with a wisdom that turns discretion into multiplication and quiet strategy into unstoppable power. Tonight, I'm going to share with you the 5 secret rules that allowed me to accumulate wealth beyond imagination, while my enemies remained completely unaware of my true strength. These aren't feel-good principles or empty motivation. These are battle-tested strategies that transform men from being reactive and exposed into becoming invisible forces of prosperity. This is about becoming a different kind of man entirely. The kind who builds empires while others are still announcing their plans. The kind who multiplies his resources while others exhaust themselves seeking applause. The kind who moves through the world with such quiet confidence that opportunities bend toward him naturally. If you're ready to stop bleeding energy through unnecessary exposure and start channeling that power into real, lasting wealth, then subscribe now, because what you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you approach every financial decision for the rest of your life. The time for performing your success is over. The era of silent multiplication begins today. Number 1, the spiritual value of discretion. There is a hollowness that follows you when you live your life in the open. You post your victories, announce your plans, share your struggles with anyone who will listen. And somewhere deep in your chest, you feel it. That strange emptiness that comes not from failing, but from succeeding in front of an audience that will never truly understand the price you paid. You have become addicted to validation, haven't you? Every achievement feels incomplete until others acknowledge it. Every step forward requires witnesses. Every moment of progress demands applause. But tonight, I want you to feel something different. I want you to remember the last time you accomplished something significant and told no one. How did that feel? There was a fullness there, wasn't there? A completeness that no external recognition could provide. This is the first truth of wealth that the world has forgotten. True prosperity is born not from the noise you make, but from the silence you master. Discretion is not hiding. Discretion is not shame. Discretion is the spiritual discipline of the wise, the sacred practice of those who understand that real power moves quietly through the world. When I ruled Israel, I learned that the most dangerous enemy of wealth is not poverty, not competition, not even failure. The most dangerous enemy of wealth is exposure at the wrong time. Every seed knows this truth. No seed announces its intention to become a tree. No seed sends invitations to its sprouting ceremony. The seed understands what most men have forgotten, that growth happens in darkness, in silence, in the protected space between intention and manifestation. Think of the mountain. The mountain does not announce its height to the valley. It does not send messages about its strength to the hills around it. The mountain simply stands, and its presence speaks louder than any words ever could. This is the power of discretion. This is the spiritual value of silence. When you stop needing the world to know your worth, you discover something profound. Your worth multiplies in the quiet spaces where only you and your purpose exist. I once knew a merchant in Jerusalem who understood this principle better than any philosopher. He came to my court not seeking recognition, but seeking wisdom. His question was simple. "My king, how do I build lasting wealth without losing my peace?" I watched him for months. While other merchants filled the marketplace with loud declarations of their success, he worked quietly. While others competed for attention, he competed for results. While others exhausted themselves in the performance of prosperity, he invested that energy into actual prosperity. Years later, when economic storms devastated the loud merchants, his business not only survived but flourished. Why? Because he had built his wealth in the shadows, away from the jealous eyes of competitors, away from the expectations of customers, away from the pressure of public opinion. His discretion had become his shield. His silence had become his strength. This merchant taught me something I had never fully grasped from my throne. That discretion is not just a strategy for wealth, it is a spiritual practice. When you choose silence over announcement, you are choosing substance over appearance. When you choose privacy over publicity, you are choosing power over performance. When you choose discretion over display, you are choosing the sacred path of the wise. But here is the deeper truth that most men miss entirely. Discretion is not about hiding your light under a basket. Discretion is about understanding that real light needs no announcement. The sun does not wake up each morning and explain to the world why it shines. It simply shines, and the world responds. This is the spiritual maturity that transforms boys into men, dreamers into builders, talkers into achievers. The moment you stop needing external validation for your internal progress, you discover something miraculous. Your energy, instead of bleeding out through constant explanation and justification, begins to accumulate. Instead of spending your power on performance, you invest it in progress. Instead of using your strength to convince others of your worth, you use it to actually become worth convincing. This accumulated energy becomes compound interest for your soul. Every moment you choose silence over speech, every instance you choose action over announcement, every time you choose substance over show, you are making a deposit in an account that pays dividends not in applause, but in actual results. But the spiritual value of discretion goes even deeper than energy management. Discretion is your connection to the divine flow of abundance. When you operate from a place of quiet confidence rather than desperate validation, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of prosperity. You stop fighting the current and start swimming with it. You stop pushing against the flow and start moving with it. The universe rewards those who understand this rhythm, not because the universe plays favorites, but because those who master discretion create the conditions for miracles to occur. When you are not constantly explaining yourself, you have more time to execute. When you are not defending your choices, you have more energy to make better ones. When you are not performing your success, you have more space to actually achieve it. This is why discretion is not just practical wisdom, but spiritual wisdom. It connects you to something larger than yourself, something more powerful than your ego, something more lasting than temporary applause. Discretion is your recognition that you are part of a greater story, and that your role in that story is more important than your recognition for playing it. The wise man understands that true spiritual strength lies not in being seen, but in seeing clearly, not in being heard, but in hearing deeply, not in being understood, but in understanding profoundly. This is the spiritual value of discretion. It transforms you from a performer into a participant, from an actor into an author, from someone seeking validation into someone creating value. Tonight, make this choice. Choose the sacred path of the wise. Choose discretion not as a hiding place, but as a launching pad. Choose silence not as weakness, but as strength. Choose privacy not as isolation, but as incubation. Your future self, the one who has mastered the art of quiet prosperity, is waiting for you to make this choice. Number 2, why exposure delays prosperity. You know that sinking feeling, don't you? You share your biggest dream, your most ambitious plan, your deepest aspiration with someone you trust, and something changes in their eyes. Maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's a slight shift in their expression, a momentary pause, a question that feels more like doubt than curiosity. And suddenly, what felt like unstoppable momentum just moments before now feels fragile, uncertain, vulnerable. This is not paranoia. This is wisdom trying to teach you one of the most expensive lessons in the school of prosperity. Exposure at the wrong time doesn't just delay your success, it actively works against it. Every time you reveal your plans before they have taken root, every time you announce your intentions before they have gained strength, every time you expose your dreams before they have built their own defense systems, you are inviting forces into your life that will systematically work to undermine everything you are trying to build. The world is not neutral about your success. This is the harsh truth that optimistic thinking tries to avoid, but that practical wisdom demands you understand. Most people, even people who claim to love you, have a complicated relationship with your prosperity. They want you to do well, but not too well. They want you to succeed, but not beyond their own level of comfort. They want you to prosper, but not in ways that make them question their own choices. This is not cruelty. This is human nature. And human nature, when triggered by premature exposure to someone else's ambition, becomes a force of subtle but persistent sabotage. It happens through innocent questions that plant seeds of doubt. It happens through well-meaning advice that steers you away from bold action. It happens through casual comments that slowly erode your confidence. It happens through energy that drains your enthusiasm, without you even realizing where the drain is coming from. I learned this lesson in the most painful way possible. Early in my reign, drunk on the excitement of my vision for Israel, I shared my grandest plans with my closest advisors. I told them about the temple I would build, the wealth I would accumulate, the wisdom I would gather from every corner of the known world. I was seeking support, encouragement, partnership in my vision. What I received instead was something far more subtle and far more dangerous: doubt disguised as concern, limitation disguised as realism, fear disguised as wisdom. One advisor worried about the cost of my temple. Another questioned whether the people were ready for such ambitious undertakings. A third suggested that perhaps I was moving too fast, thinking too big, reaching too far. None of these comments were meant to harm me. All of them were intended to help, but each one was like a small leak in the balloon of my enthusiasm. Each one was like a tiny crack in the foundation of my confidence. Each one was like a subtle poison, injected into the bloodstream of my vision. Here is what I wish I had understood then. When you expose immature plans to the opinions of others, you are subjecting those plans to forces they are not yet strong enough to withstand. A seedling that can grow into a mighty oak will die if exposed to harsh winds before its roots have gone deep. A vision that can transform your entire life will wither if exposed to doubt and criticism before it has built its own internal strength. But the delay caused by premature exposure goes deeper than external sabotage. It creates internal sabotage as well. When you share your plans too early, you begin to live your life through the eyes of others. You start making decisions based not on what serves your vision, but on what will satisfy the expectations you have created. You begin editing your dreams before you have even attempted them. You start compromising your plans before you have even tested them. This is the most insidious form of delay. The delay that comes from losing connection with your own inner knowing. When you expose your vision too early, you invite other voices into your head at the exact moment when you most need clarity. You confuse external opinions with internal wisdom. You mistake the fears of others for the voice of reason. You trade the bold simplicity of inspired action for the complex confusion of committee decision-making. The ego plays a particularly destructive role in this process. The ego loves exposure. The ego feeds on recognition, thrives on attention, grows stronger with every acknowledgement of its importance. But the ego is also the part of you that is most vulnerable to external influence. When your ego is running the show, sharing your plans feels like progress because it feels like validation. But validation is not progress. Validation is often the substitute that prevents actual progress from occurring. I watched this pattern destroy countless dreams in my court. Young men would come to me with brilliant visions, revolutionary ideas, plans that could change their lives and the lives of everyone around them. But they were so excited about their plans that they shared them with everyone who would listen. They sought validation for their vision before they had validated it through action. Within weeks, those brilliant plans were buried under the weight of other people's opinions, limitations, fears, and projections. What started as inspired action became paralyzed inaction. What began as clear vision became confused discussion. What originated as personal calling became public committee. This is why exposure delays prosperity. It transforms your internal process into an external performance. Instead of nurturing your vision in the private garden of your own commitment, you transplant it into the harsh soil of public opinion before it has developed the root system necessary to survive there. But there is something even more dangerous about premature exposure than the delay it causes. Premature exposure often provides a false sense of completion. When you share your plans and receive positive feedback, your brain interprets that positive feedback as progress toward the goal. You get a hit of the satisfaction that should only come from actual achievement. This tricks your motivation system into thinking you are closer to success than you actually are, which reduces your drive to do the actual work required. Scientists call this social reality. When you announce your intentions to others and receive support for those intentions, your brain begins to treat the social recognition of your goals as partial completion of your goals. This is why people who talk extensively about their plans are statistically less likely to follow through on them than people who keep their plans private. The path to prosperity requires every ounce of motivation, energy, and focus you can generate. When you leak that energy through premature exposure, when you dissipate that motivation through external validation, when you fragment that focus through other people's opinions, you are stealing from your own future success. Tonight, understand this. Your dreams are not entertainment for others. Your plans are not conversation pieces. Your visions are not community property. They are sacred trusts that you hold for your future self, and your job is to protect them until they are strong enough to protect themselves. Exposure delays prosperity because it invites interference into a process that requires isolation to succeed. Number 3, the first rule: speak less than you achieve. Every morning you wake up with a choice that will determine the trajectory of your entire day, and most men make the wrong choice without even realizing it. You can start your day focused on what you are going to accomplish, or you can start your day focused on what you are going to say about what you might accomplish. You can invest your energy in execution, or you can spend it on explanation. You can choose the path of the achiever, or you can choose the path of the announcer. Most men have become addicted to the announcement. They have confused talking about progress with making progress. They have mistaken the description of success for the creation of success. They have fallen into the trap of believing that speaking eloquently about their goals is equivalent to working effectively toward their goals. But here is the truth that separates the wealthy from the wishful. Your mouth is not your most important tool for creating prosperity. Your hands are. Your mind is. Your discipline is. Your consistency is. Your word, when overused, becomes your greatest enemy. When you speak more than you achieve, you are actively working against your own success. This is not about becoming silent or antisocial. This is about understanding the mathematical relationship between energy spent on communication and energy available for creation. Every minute you spend explaining your plans is a minute not spent executing your plans. Every ounce of enthusiasm you discharge through conversation is an ounce not available for action. Every moment of focus you direct toward convincing others is a moment lost from convincing reality. There was a young craftsman in my kingdom who embodied this principle perfectly, though he learned it through painful experience. He was extraordinarily talented at working with precious metals, capable of creating jewelry that rivaled the finest pieces in my treasury. But he had one fatal flaw. He could not stop talking about what he was going to create next. Every morning in the marketplace, he would gather crowds with his eloquent descriptions of the magnificent pieces he was planning. He would paint vivid pictures with his words, describing in intricate detail the necklaces, rings, and bracelets he intended to craft. People would listen with fascination, offering encouragement and placing orders based on his passionate descriptions. But here is what I observed from my palace. While he was spending hours each day talking about his creations, his actual workshop remained largely empty. While he was using his creative energy to fuel conversations, he had little left to fuel his craft. While he was perfecting his ability to describe beautiful jewelry, his ability to create beautiful jewelry was withering from neglect. The tragedy was not just that his production suffered. The real tragedy was that his reputation began to suffer as well. People who had been impressed by his words became disappointed by his results. Customers who had been excited by his promises became frustrated by his delays. The same mouth that he thought was marketing his business was actually destroying his credibility. I called him to my court and asked him a simple question: which serves you better, the approval you receive for describing your work or the gold you would earn for completing it? The question shattered something in his eyes. He realized that he had been living in the fantasy of future achievement rather than the reality of present action. From that day forward, he implemented what I now call the first rule of silent prosperity: speak less than you achieve. For every hour of work he completed, he allowed himself only 10 minutes of conversation about that work. For every piece he finished, he permitted himself only one brief description to one potential customer. For every level of skill he developed, he shared only half of what he had learned. The transformation was remarkable. Within months, his workshop was producing pieces that exceeded even his own previous descriptions. Within a year, his work was being sought by merchants from distant lands. Within 2 years, he had accumulated more wealth than he had ever imagined possible. And the most beautiful part, he had done it all without fanfare, without announcements, without the exhausting performance of perpetual self-promotion. This craftsman had discovered something profound. When you speak less than you achieve, your achievements begin to speak for themselves. When you stop using your energy to convince people of your capabilities, you start using that energy to develop capabilities that need no convincing. When you quit talking about what you're going to do, you discover how much you can actually do. But the first rule goes deeper than energy management. Speaking less than you achieve protects your plans from the most dangerous force they will ever face: premature judgment. Every time you describe a plan that has not yet been tested, you subject that plan to the limitations, fears, and projections of whoever is listening. You invite other people's doubts into your own mind at the exact moment when doubt is most toxic. Immature plans are like newborn children. They require protection, nurturing, and a controlled environment to develop properly. When you expose them too early to the harsh opinions of the outside world, you risk damaging them before they have developed the strength to defend themselves. I learned this lesson when planning the construction of my temple. My initial inclination was to share every detail with my advisors, to seek input on every decision, to build consensus around every choice. But divine wisdom whispered a different strategy. Work in silence until the foundation is unshakable, then reveal the vision when it no longer needs protection. For months, I worked with a small, trusted team to develop the plans in complete secrecy. We solved problems quietly, made decisions privately, built momentum internally. By the time I revealed the project to the wider court, it was no longer a fragile idea seeking approval. It was a powerful vision backed by detailed planning, proven feasibility, and unstoppable momentum. The response was completely different from what it would have been if I had shared the idea in its early stages. Instead of doubt and debate, I received awe and support. Instead of questions and concerns, I received resources and assistance. Instead of resistance and obstacles, I received cooperation and acceleration. This is the power of speaking less than you achieve. When your words are backed by demonstrated results, they carry a weight that empty promises can never match. When you have proof of concept rather than just concept, people respond not with skepticism but with respect. When you present accomplishment rather than just ambition, the world moves to support you rather than question you. The practical application of this rule requires discipline that most men are unwilling to develop. It means celebrating privately before celebrating publicly. It means solving problems internally before seeking external validation. It means building strength quietly before demonstrating strength loudly. Start with this simple practice. For every goal you are pursuing, tell no more than one person about it, and only after you have made measurable progress toward it. For every achievement you complete, share it with no more than 3 people who can genuinely benefit from knowing about it. For every level of success you reach, speak about only the level you have already surpassed, never the level you are still climbing toward. This discipline will feel unnatural at first because you have been trained to believe that communication is connection, that sharing is caring, that transparency is trust. But you will discover something magnificent. When you speak less than you achieve, your achievements begin to speak more than you ever could. Number 4, the second rule, work in secrecy. There is a sacred space that exists between your intention and your manifestation, and most men never learn to protect it. This space is where miracles happen. This space is where ordinary ideas transform into extraordinary results. This space is where the impossible becomes inevitable. But this space only functions properly in secret, away from the eyes of the world, away from the opinions of observers, away from the energy of audiences. You have been taught that work should be visible, that progress should be public, that achievement should have witnesses. You have been convinced that if no one sees your effort, then your effort has less value. You have been programmed to believe that working without an audience is somehow less meaningful than working with one. But tonight, I want to destroy this lie that has been stealing your power. The most potent work happens in secret. The most transformative growth occurs in darkness. The most valuable progress takes place in solitude. When you work in secrecy, you tap into forces that are unavailable to those who work in the spotlight. You access levels of focus that are impossible when you are performing. You discover depths of creativity that emerge only in privacy. Think about the most powerful forces in nature. The seed does its most important work underground, in complete darkness, with no witnesses except the soil that surrounds it. The butterfly transforms in the cocoon, hidden from the world, protected from interference, free from the pressure of external expectations. The earthquake builds its power in the deep places of the earth, gathering strength in secret before revealing its force to the world. This is the natural law that governs all genuine transformation. The most important work happens where no one can see it. When you honor this law in your own life, when you choose to work in secrecy rather than in spectacle, you align yourself with the fundamental creative forces of the universe. I discovered this truth during the most challenging period of my reign. Israel was facing economic pressures from neighboring kingdoms, and I needed to develop new strategies for prosperity that our enemies could not anticipate or counter. The conventional approach would have been to gather my advisors, announce my intentions, create committees to study the problems, and implement solutions through public processes. Instead, I chose secrecy. I withdrew to a private chamber in my palace and began working alone on revolutionary approaches to trade, taxation, and resource management. I spent months developing these strategies in complete isolation, testing them privately, refining them quietly, perfecting them without interference. During this period, my court began to whisper. Some wondered if their king had lost his confidence. Others questioned whether I was avoiding my responsibilities. A few suggested that I was no longer fit to lead. The pressure to emerge from my secret work and resume public leadership was enormous. But I had learned something that most leaders never discover. When you work in secrecy, you develop capabilities that are impossible to develop in public. In public, you are constantly managing perceptions, responding to feedback, adjusting to reactions. In secret, you are purely focused on results. In public, you are divided between creating and performing. In secret, all your energy flows toward creation. The strategies I developed during those months of secret work revolutionized Israel's economy. They were so innovative, so unexpected, so effective that our neighboring kingdoms could not understand how we had gained such sudden advantages. By the time our enemies realized what was happening, our prosperity was already secured, and our position was already unassailable. But the real victory was not the economic transformation. The real victory was what I had become during those months of secret work. Working in solitude had deepened my wisdom, sharpened my intuition, and connected me to sources of insight that are drowned out by the noise of public activity. This is the secret power that you access when you choose to work without an audience. You begin to hear the voice of your own genius. In the silence of secret work, you discover capabilities you never knew you possessed. In the privacy of hidden effort, you develop skills that surprise even you. In the solitude of invisible labor, you connect with the deepest sources of your own power. But working in secrecy does more than develop your capabilities. It protects your energy from the most dangerous leak that destroys most men's effectiveness, the energy drain of constant explanation. When you work in public, you spend enormous amounts of energy explaining what you are doing, why you are doing it, how you are doing it, and what you hope to achieve by doing it. This explanation energy is not neutral. Every moment you spend explaining your work is a moment not spent improving your work. Every ounce of enthusiasm you discharge through description is an ounce not available for execution. Every minute of focus you direct toward justifying your methods is a minute lost from refining your methods. Secret work eliminates this energy leak completely. When no one knows what you are doing, you cannot waste energy explaining it. When no one is watching your process, you cannot dissipate focus through performance. When no one is questioning your methods, you cannot lose momentum through justification. This concentrated energy becomes compound power. Instead of scattering your force across explanation, justification, and performance, you concentrate it entirely on execution, refinement, and results. The difference in outcomes is not just significant, it is transformational. I have watched countless men destroy their own potential by choosing visibility over effectiveness. They work harder on looking productive than on being productive. They invest more energy in appearing successful than in becoming successful. They focus more attention on documenting their progress than on making progress. But the wise man makes a different choice. The wise man understands that secret work is not hiding from responsibility. It is accepting the deepest responsibility. It is the responsibility to produce results rather than excuses, to create value rather than impressions, to build reality rather than reputation. There is also a psychological dimension to secret work that most people miss entirely. When you work in secrecy, you eliminate the external validation that often becomes a substitute for internal satisfaction. You cannot rely on applause to motivate you, so you develop genuine motivation. You cannot depend on recognition to reward you, so you learn to find reward in the work itself. This psychological shift is profound. Instead of becoming addicted to external approval, you develop internal drive. Instead of needing others to confirm your progress, you learn to measure progress through results. Instead of requiring audience to feel productive, you discover the deep satisfaction that comes from pure creation. The man who masters secret work becomes unstoppable because he becomes independent. He no longer needs perfect conditions to be productive. He no longer requires ideal circumstances to create value. He no longer depends on external support to maintain momentum. Tonight, identify one important project in your life that you have been approaching publicly. Choose to take it underground. Stop talking about it. Stop seeking input on it. Stop performing it for others. Create a private space where you can work on it with complete focus, total concentration, and zero interference. Work in secrecy not because you are ashamed of your efforts, but because you respect them too much to subject them to casual observation. Work in privacy not because you fear judgment, but because you value results more than recognition. Work in solitude not because you avoid connection, but because you choose the deepest connection of all, the connection between your intention and your achievement. Number 5, the third rule: control your emotions. Right now, as you listen to these words, there is a war happening inside you. It is not a war between good and evil or between right and wrong. It is a war between the part of you that reacts and the part of you that responds. Between the part of you that feels and the part of you that thinks. Between the part of you that wants immediate relief and the part of you that wants lasting results. This war determines everything. It determines whether you will be rich or poor, whether you will be respected or dismissed, whether you will be powerful or powerless. Most men lose this war every single day without even knowing they are fighting it. They surrender their future to their feelings, their destiny to their impulses, their prosperity to their emotions. But tonight, I want to teach you something that took me decades to master. Your emotions are not your truth. They are not your guidance system. They are not your decision-making authority. Your emotions are weather patterns in the landscape of your mind, and like all weather, they are temporary, changeable, and completely unreliable as a foundation for important decisions. The poor man is ruled by his emotions. The rich man rules his emotions. The unsuccessful man reacts to his feelings. The successful man responds despite his feelings. The weak man is controlled by his moods. The strong man controls his moods. This is not philosophy. This is the practical mathematics of prosperity. Every time you make a decision based on how you feel in the moment, you are stealing from your future self. Every time you react emotionally instead of responding strategically, you are sabotaging your long-term success. Every time you let your emotions drive your actions, you are choosing temporary relief over permanent results. I learned this lesson in the most humbling way possible. Early in my reign, I was approached by a neighboring king who insulted Israel's military capabilities in front of foreign ambassadors. My immediate emotional response was rage. I wanted to respond with force, to demonstrate our strength, to defend our honor through immediate military action. My emotions were screaming for vindication. My pride was demanding satisfaction. My anger was calling for revenge. Every fiber of my being was pushing me toward an emotional response that would have satisfied my feelings but destroyed my kingdom's future. But something deeper than emotion spoke to me in that moment. Call it wisdom, call it divine guidance, call it strategic thinking. Whatever you call it, this deeper voice whispered a different approach. Control your emotions and you will control the situation. React from emotion and the situation will control you. Instead of responding immediately, I withdrew to private chambers and asked myself a series of questions that would transform not just this crisis, but my entire approach to leadership. What outcome do I actually want from this situation? What response would serve my long-term interests rather than my short-term feelings? How can I turn this insult into advantage rather than conflict? The answers that emerged from this emotional discipline were brilliant. Instead of military confrontation, I chose economic isolation. Instead of public retaliation, I chose private strategizing. Instead of immediate satisfaction, I chose delayed victory. Over the following months, I implemented trade policies that made this neighboring kingdom dependent on Israel's resources while making Israel independent of theirs. I built alliances with their enemies while maintaining the appearance of neutrality. I strengthened our military capabilities while avoiding any actions that would justify their aggression. 2 years later, this same king who had insulted us came to my court seeking economic partnership and military alliance. The insult that had triggered my emotions had become the catalyst for a strategic victory that secured Israel's prosperity for generations. But the real lesson was not about foreign policy. The real lesson was about internal policy. I discovered that emotional control is not about suppressing feelings or denying emotions. Emotional control is about creating space between stimulus and response, between trigger and action, between feeling and decision. This space is where wisdom lives. This space is where strategy develops. This space is where prosperity is born. When you react immediately to emotional triggers, you collapse this space and lose access to your highest capabilities. When you create and protect this space, you tap into powers that are unavailable to reactive people. The practical application of emotional control in wealth building is profound. Every investment decision, every business choice, every career move is influenced by emotions that can either serve you or sabotage you. Fear will keep you from taking necessary risks. Greed will push you toward unnecessary risks. Pride will blind you to important feedback. Anger will drive you toward destructive choices. But when you master emotional control, you transform these same emotions into information rather than instruction. Fear becomes a signal to prepare more thoroughly, not to avoid opportunity. Greed becomes a reminder to evaluate carefully, not to act recklessly. Pride becomes motivation to perform excellently, not to ignore criticism. Anger becomes energy for focused action, not destructive reaction. I have observed that wealthy men share one common characteristic. They make their most important decisions when they are emotionally neutral. They do not invest when they are excited. They do not divest when they are afraid. They do not hire when they are impressed. They do not fire when they are angry. Instead, they create systems and processes that prevent emotional decision-making. They establish criteria for choices before emotions arise. They build waiting periods between feeling and acting. They consult with advisors who are not emotionally invested in their situations. This discipline seems restrictive to emotional people, but it is actually the ultimate freedom. When you are not controlled by your emotions, you are free to choose responses that actually serve your goals rather than just satisfy your feelings. When you are not driven by impulse, you are free to select strategies that create long-term success rather than short-term relief. The silent accumulation of wealth requires this emotional mastery because wealth building is often counter-emotional. The actions that build wealth often feel wrong in the moment. Saving feels like deprivation. Investing feels like risk. Patience feels like inaction. Discipline feels like punishment. But emotional maturity reveals the truth. What feels wrong in the moment often creates what feels right in the future. What seems like sacrifice today becomes abundance tomorrow. What appears to be restriction now becomes freedom later. Tonight, begin practicing the discipline that separates the wealthy from the wishful. Pause before you act on any significant emotion. Create space between what you feel and what you do. Ask yourself not, what do I feel like doing, but what action will serve my future self? This pause will feel uncomfortable at first because you have been trained to believe that immediate action is strength and delayed response is weakness. But you will discover something powerful. The man who controls his emotions controls his destiny, and the man who controls his destiny controls his wealth. Number 6, the fourth rule: be selective with whom you share. There is a moment that happens in every man's life when he realizes that not everyone who smiles at him wishes him well. Not everyone who asks about his business wants him to succeed. Not everyone who shows interest in his plans has good intentions for his future. This moment is painful, but it is also the beginning of wisdom. You have been taught to be open, to share freely, to trust easily. You have been conditioned to believe that transparency is always virtue, that secrecy is always suspicion, that sharing your dreams with others will somehow make those dreams more likely to come true. But experience has taught you something different, hasn't it? You have shared your most precious plans with people you trusted, only to watch those plans somehow lose their power. You have revealed your deepest ambitions to friends who seemed supportive, only to notice subtle changes in their behavior toward you. You have opened your heart about your biggest goals to family members who claim to love you, only to receive doubt disguised as concern, limitation disguised as realism, sabotage disguised as help. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition, and the pattern is clear. Most people have a complicated relationship with your success. They want you to do well enough to validate their friendship with you, but not so well that they have to question their own choices. They want you to succeed enough to make them feel good about supporting you, but not so much that they feel left behind by your progress. Understanding this truth is not about becoming cynical or suspicious. It is about becoming strategic. It is about recognizing that your dreams, your plans, and your ambitions are not entertainment for others. They are not conversation pieces. They are not community property. They are sacred trusts that you hold for your future self, and your responsibility is to protect them until they are strong enough to protect themselves. I learned this lesson through one of the most painful betrayals of my early reign. There was a young man in my court who had grown up with me, who had been like a brother to me since childhood. When I became king, I naturally wanted to include him in my closest circle of advisors. I shared with him my grandest visions for Israel, my most innovative strategies for prosperity, my deepest concerns about the challenges we faced. His response was everything I hoped for. He showed enthusiasm for my visions, offered encouragement for my strategies, provided comfort for my concerns. I felt supported, understood, validated. I believed I had found not just an advisor, but a partner in building Israel's future. But over the following months, I began to notice disturbing patterns. Information I had shared with him in private began appearing in conversations with other court members. Strategies we had discussed in confidence began facing unexpected resistance from sources that should have known nothing about them. Plans I had revealed to him alone began encountering obstacles that seemed designed specifically to counter them. The betrayal was not dramatic or obvious. It was subtle, persistent, systematic. He was not selling my secrets to enemies or openly opposing my leadership. He was simply sharing what I had told him with people who did not have my best interests at heart. He was treating my private strategic thinking as public information. He was turning my trust into his social currency. When I confronted him about this pattern, his response revealed something that changed my understanding of human nature forever. He was genuinely surprised by my concern. In his mind, he had not been betraying me. He had been building relationships, creating connections, establishing his own importance in the court by demonstrating his access to the king's inner thoughts. He had never intended to harm me, but his inability to honor the sacred nature of private communication had systematically undermined my effectiveness as a leader. His need for social connection had taken precedence over his commitment to my success. This experience taught me the fourth rule of silent prosperity. Be ruthlessly selective with whom you share your plans, dreams, and strategies. Not because most people are evil, but because most people are human. And humans, even well-intentioned humans, often cannot resist the temptation to share what they know, especially when that knowledge makes them feel important. The mathematics of selective sharing are simple but profound. Every person you tell your plans to is a potential point of failure. Every individual you invite into your inner circle is a possible source of energy drain, focus dilution, or strategic compromise. Every friend you trust with your deepest ambitions is a risk to those ambitions, no matter how good their intentions might be. This does not mean you should become a hermit or trust no one. It means you should understand that trust is not a binary choice between complete openness and total secrecy. Trust is a graduated permission that you grant carefully, strategically, and revocably based on demonstrated reliability and aligned interests. The wise man shares his plans with people who have three qualities. First, they have demonstrated the ability to keep confidences over time. Second, they have skills or resources that can actually contribute to the success of the plans. Third, they have their own success at a level that makes them genuinely excited about your success, rather than threatened by it. Most people fail all three of these criteria. They cannot keep secrets because sharing information makes them feel important. They cannot contribute meaningfully to your plans because they lack relevant skills or resources. They cannot celebrate your success because it triggers their own insecurities about their achievements. But there is an even deeper reason to be selective with your sharing: the energy dynamics of communication. Every time you share a plan, you discharge some of the energy that should be invested in executing that plan. Every time you describe a goal, you experience a small hit of satisfaction that should only come from achieving that goal. Every time you reveal a strategy, you lose some of the focused intensity that strategy requires to succeed. I have observed that men who share their plans widely tend to be men who struggle with execution. They become addicted to the energy they receive from talking about their intentions, and this addiction reduces their drive to transform intentions into results. They become more invested in being seen as ambitious than in actually achieving their ambitions. The selective man makes a different choice. He guards his energy like a miser guards gold. He protects his plans like a general protects military secrets. He shares his strategies only with people who have earned the right to know them and who have the capacity to help implement them. This selectivity creates compound benefits. First, it preserves your energy for execution rather than explanation. Second, it protects your plans from interference and sabotage. Third, it maintains the psychological intensity that ambitious goals require. Fourth, it attracts higher quality relationships with people who respect boundaries and honor trust. Tonight, audit your current sharing patterns. Identify the people in your life who consistently respond to your good news with subtle discouragement, to your plans with unnecessary complications, to your excitement with dampening energy. These people may love you, but they are not safe repositories for your dreams. Then identify the few people who have demonstrated all three qualities: discretion, capability, and genuine enthusiasm for your success. These are your true allies, your strategic partners, your inner circle. Share with them carefully, strategically, and only when their input can genuinely serve your goals. Remember this truth: your dreams are not democratic. They do not require community approval. They do not need external validation. They need protection, nurturing, and selective sharing with people who have earned the privilege of participating in their manifestation. Number 7, the fifth rule: prosperity that doesn't shine. You are surrounded by men who have confused wealth with display, prosperity with performance, success with spectacle. They drive cars that announce their earnings, wear clothes that broadcast their status, live in houses that proclaim their worth to anyone who passes by. They have mistaken the symbols of wealth for wealth itself, and in doing so, they have trapped themselves in a prison of perpetual performance. But tonight, I want to reveal to you the deepest secret of lasting prosperity. True wealth is invisible. Real power is quiet. Authentic abundance operates in silence, grows in privacy, and multiplies in the spaces where no one is watching. The richest man is not the one who displays the most, but the one who needs to display the least. This principle cuts against everything you have been taught about success. You have been programmed to believe that wealth unexpressed is wealth wasted. You have been convinced that if others cannot see your prosperity, then your prosperity has somehow failed. You have been taught that success without recognition is somehow incomplete success. But I am here to destroy this lie that has been stealing your peace and sabotaging your progress. True prosperity does not shine because it does not need to shine. Like the sun, which illuminates the world without effort or announcement, authentic wealth creates its effects naturally, effortlessly, and undeniably. When I ruled Israel, I possessed wealth that exceeded the imagination of my contemporaries. Gold flowed into my kingdom like water into a river. Precious stones arrived daily from the corners of the known world. My personal treasury contained riches that could have purchased entire nations. Yet I learned something that most wealthy men never discover. The moment you begin to display your wealth as proof of your worth, you transform that wealth from an asset into a liability. You invite envy where you sought respect. You attract parasites where you hoped for partners. You create targets where you intended to build bridges. There was a period early in my reign when I fell into this trap. Drunk on the intoxication of unprecedented prosperity, I began to live in ways that announced my wealth to the world. I wore robes that proclaimed my riches. I ate foods that demonstrated my abundance. I surrounded myself with luxuries that testified to my success. The results were immediate and devastating. Neighboring kingdoms began viewing Israel not as an ally to befriend, but as a treasure to plunder. Foreign delegations arrived not seeking partnership, but calculating vulnerability. My own people began relating to me not as their leader, but as their lottery ticket. More dangerously, I began to relate to myself differently. Instead of seeing my wealth as a tool for building and serving, I started seeing it as a trophy for displaying and enjoying. Instead of asking, "How can this prosperity serve my purpose?" I started asking, "How can this prosperity serve my ego?" This shift from purpose to ego changed everything. My decision-making became corrupted by the need to maintain appearances. My relationships became contaminated by questions of motive. My peace became destroyed by the constant pressure of performance. But divine wisdom offered me a different path. In a moment of clarity that would reshape my entire approach to prosperity, I understood that wealth is like fire, incredibly powerful when contained and directed, incredibly destructive when unleashed and uncontrolled. I made the most counterintuitive decision of my reign. I chose to live below my means, not above them. I chose simplicity over complexity, substance over show, impact over impression. I began to practice what I now call prosperity that doesn't shine. This did not mean living like a pauper or denying myself reasonable comforts. This meant choosing quality over quantity, substance over style, function over fashion. This meant investing in capabilities rather than appearances, in systems rather than symbols, in results rather than recognition. The transformation was profound. When I stopped using my wealth to impress others, I started using it to serve others. When I stopped displaying my prosperity, I started deploying my prosperity. When I stopped performing my success, I started expanding my success. But the deepest benefit was internal. When I no longer needed external validation of my wealth, I discovered internal satisfaction with my wealth. When I stopped seeking recognition for my prosperity, I started experiencing genuine enjoyment of my prosperity. When I quit performing abundance, I began living abundance. This is the secret that separates the truly wealthy from the merely rich. The wealthy understand that money is not the point. The point is freedom. The point is choice. The point is the ability to serve purposes larger than yourself. Money is simply the tool, not the destination. When you grasp this truth, you realize that displaying your wealth actually diminishes it. Every dollar spent on impressing others is a dollar not invested in creating value. Every moment focused on appearance is a moment lost from advancement. Every ounce of energy directed toward display is energy stolen from development. The man who practices prosperity that doesn't shine makes different choices. He drives reliable vehicles, not impressive ones. He wears quality clothing, not branded clothing. He lives in comfortable homes, not showcase homes. He invests in capabilities, not appearances. But here is what others cannot see. This same man is building wealth at a rate that would astonish those who judge prosperity by its display. Because he is not bleeding money through unnecessary signaling, every dollar he earns compounds into genuine financial power. Because he is not wasting energy on performance, every hour he works multiplies into real productivity. More importantly, he is building something that flashy wealth can never purchase: genuine respect. People respect him not because of what he owns, but because of who he is. They trust him not because of what he displays, but because of what he delivers. They seek his counsel not because of his possessions, but because of his wisdom. This respect becomes a form of wealth that appreciates rather than depreciates. Unlike cars that lose value, clothes that go out of style, or houses that require constant maintenance, the respect earned through authentic prosperity grows more valuable over time. I have watched countless men destroy themselves pursuing prosperity that shines. They work not for wealth, but for the appearance of wealth. They sacrifice not for success, but for the symbols of success. They exhaust themselves not building businesses, but building impressions. These men become slaves to their own success. They cannot reduce their expenses because their identity is tied to their spending. They cannot take risks because they might damage their image. They cannot pivot or adapt because others are watching and expecting consistency in their performance. But the man who masters prosperity that doesn't shine remains free. He can live anywhere because he is not imprisoned by lifestyle inflation. He can invest boldly because he has not committed his resources to maintaining appearances. He can change direction because his identity is not dependent on external validation. Tonight, make this choice. Choose to build wealth that serves you rather than wealth that requires you to serve it. Choose prosperity that enhances your life rather than prosperity that complicates your life. Choose success that creates freedom rather than success that demands performance. The world will not understand this choice because the world measures prosperity by its visibility. But the world's misunderstanding is your competitive advantage. While others exhaust themselves in the performance of wealth, you will be busy creating actual wealth. While others compete for recognition, you will be building capabilities. While others seek applause, you will be achieving results. This is the final secret of Solomon. True prosperity whispers while false prosperity shouts. Authentic wealth serves while artificial wealth performs. Lasting abundance builds in silence while temporary abundance announces its presence. Choose the path of the wise and discover prosperity that doesn't need to shine because it illuminates everything it touches. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine a river that runs deep beneath the earth. Above ground, the world rushes past in noise and chaos, but this underground river flows in perfect silence, carving canyons, nourishing roots, creating landscapes that will endure for thousands of years. This river does not announce its presence, does not seek recognition for its work, does not demand applause for its power. Yet everything that thrives above depends on its quiet, persistent flow. You are this river now. You have discovered what the ancient kings knew and what modern men have forgotten, that true power moves in silence, that lasting wealth grows in darkness, that genuine strength requires no audience. The 5 rules I have shared with you tonight are not just strategies for building prosperity. They are invitations into a way of being that transforms not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with existence. Most men spend their lives performing on the surface, creating ripples and waves that quickly disappear. But you have chosen the deeper current. You have chosen to work where transformation actually happens, to build where foundations actually hold, to invest where returns actually compound over generations rather than moments. This choice will set you apart in ways you cannot yet imagine. While others exhaust themselves in the theater of success, you will be backstage, quietly orchestrating results that speak louder than any words ever could. While others compete for attention, you will be accumulating attention's most valuable currency. Respect that cannot be purchased, trust that cannot be manufactured, influence that cannot be performed. The path of silent prosperity is not just about money. It is about reclaiming your sovereignty in a world that profits from your reactivity. It is about choosing substance over spectacle, depth over display, truth over theater. Every time you speak less than you achieve, work in secrecy, control your emotions, share selectively, and prosper without shining, you are voting for the man you are becoming over the man you have been. If you are ready to continue walking this path of quiet transformation, to keep learning the ancient secrets that modern wisdom has abandoned, then join me on this journey by subscribing. Not as a follower, but as a fellow traveler on the road less taken. The river that runs deepest leaves the most lasting mark on the landscape of time.